He had woke up one day with a headache, really piercing headache, screamed, and it went away in a few seconds. And I said, oh, well, maybe, we live in San Francisco and there's lots of allergies and fog and stuff. I was like, maybe it was allergies or something. It went away really quick, but it happened again a few times. So I took him to the emergency room. He had a 3-centimeter tumor we found that day. It was a primary CNS lymphoma, which is a squashy tumor, and it's right in the central nervous system, so it can't be surgically resected. It has to be treated with chemotherapy. That tumor started responding pretty well to the chemo, shrunk pretty quickly. Like I said, it was 6 months in. We thought it was gone on a scan, and he'd had a chest port put in to get the chemo, and we went to get a scan to get his port out, and when we did that scan, they found another 3-centimeter tumor, same side of his brain, but a different place in the brain, which meant we must have missed a cell or two, and it's taken back up. And so then we had to start again. Of course, that was horribly devastating because he was getting ready to go to Florida to see his grandparents and everything. Like, we were like, you got through cancer, and then it came back. I mean, the first time you find out your kid has cancer, it's awful, but you know something's wrong with your kid. So you're at the ER or whatever, right? And then you find out and it's devastating. But when it recurred, after all he'd been through and he'd gone through this really intense chemo, the first time it recurred, we had to find the news. The doctor phoned me at home to tell me, we can't take his port out. He's actually not, just, you lose it. But the worst part was telling him that it had recurred. And, my dad had gone home to my mom because we thought he was in the clear, and they were getting their house ready for my 5 kids to go visit and everything, and instead my parents had to come back out, but we had to tell him, and that was just devastating. So we went back with some of the same drugs, but then a few different ones, and then at the end we decided to just go ahead and do the stem cell transplant, which was really scary, right? Your kid's whole immune system's taken out. He's in isolation. It meant his brothers couldn't visit him, his cousins couldn't visit him, and FaceTiming with him and things, but mostly he was miserable in a room by himself. So right before we had the stem cell transplant, we knew the tumor was gone. But the first tumor, when it was re-diagnosed, it came back in like 2 weeks. So it came back really fast. So he had no tumor that was visible on the scans when we went in for the stem cell transplant. So then he went through the stem cell transplant. We had a scan after, so it was a 6-week period where we had to wait to see if the stem cell transplant had worked. And then also he couldn't, he was in his room the whole time, but to make sure it hadn't grown back, and it hadn't grown back. And that was a huge relief. I mean, it's indescribable, really, I think, until it happens to you. He's just been so amazing about everything. He's very, very brave about just going through treatment, doing what the doctors tell him. He is really, really just so mentally strong. And, if you tell him, look, this is what we're doing, we're gonna be doing, a transplant, you're gonna get really sick. And, he just really has been great about not, he's not looking forward. Every 2 weeks we have to take him in for 6 days. He knows he's going to get hooked up and he's going to be on the methotrexate that's going to make him feel horrible, and he's going to get blisters on the inside of his mouth from the other one, and it's going to be bleeding in his mouth and it's sore, and he doesn't want to eat anything, and he's stuck in a bed, and he just keeps, he doesn't complain. So very strong about just maintaining, just continuing to fight the fight. I think as a family, it has made us all a lot closer. It's also really underscored that we have a really great family. People just show up and just pull their weight. My sisters have came out. I got flu one time, so I couldn't be with them, and then my mom came out, and my dad, my parents have barely been together over the last year and a half because between juggling back and forth. My brother-in-law has been out to cover a week because my sister was going to come out, but then she got sick and she got a cold, and so everyone's just been if they're healthy, they're there to roll up their sleeves and do it. So this whole trip came about, Cal was in the hospital, and we were visited by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, who came to grant Callum a wish. And this was shortly after he got sick, so about 1.5 years ago. And they had reached out to say he gets to pick, and they take him in a separate room because they don't want family to push the wish in a different way. So, I was thinking he would probably pick something like skiing or Hawaii, but he actually surprised us and said he wanted to go to Sunderland, England to see his Auntie Margaret, who's my mother's sister, and all of his cousins, because whenever we come out here, it's a lot of cousins, and he has a great time. So that's what he picked. The Make-A-Wish Foundation was great. They had actually, the Wish people working with us had never even heard of Sunderland, England, of course. And the fact that the stars aligned, that we're actually able to do it at a time when he's off school and can go, and there's actually a game that's home. It's just amazing. And we've got, I think, obviously we've got 8 people up here, but we've got 26 people, as well as some season ticket holders in the stands as well of our family. That's just all coming together to celebrate, the end of what's been a really arduous process, and just, it's amazing. I mean, it's, I can't believe that we're finally here, because we've been talking about it since his first cancer. And it's been pushed back and pushed off, and then he wasn't healthy enough to travel for quite a while, didn't have the immune system to go to an airport, and now here he is. It's kind of almost like a dream that to me, like, I can't believe we're actually here.